Mark Levin here. The post-election economy could be a minefield of inflation, massive debt, and currency instability. That's why I count on gold for my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and that's who I turn to for my own investments. Call them now, 800-900-8000, for a free gold investment kit, and see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Don't wait and see if post-election chaos destroys your savings. Act preemptively. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. We will begin our new Philadelphia station on Friday evening. They want to get us on before the election. They're good people, and I will announce it on Friday, the Philadelphia station. Good for them. Great, great partners. Can I ask you folks a question? I sit here, I watch this every night. You probably do too, these boards and the polls and who's what. This has been going on for months. Has anything changed, Mr. Producer? It's a close election. We can't call it. But if this happens, we did it, and then this one wins. If that happens, but we don't know if that happens. What is the point of this? Is this news? I'm serious, folks. Do you find this entertaining or frustrating? Frustrating. People are bringing pollsters on. People are bringing experts on. They're bringing 538, 528, whatever the hell the guy's name is. It's, if he wins Michigan and if she wins this one, and then, you're standing on your head and picking your toes, and then this happens. I'm like, what is this? It's just crazy to me. And it's been going on week after week, month after month. I don't do it. If we were pulling away in the night, I'd say something. Might we have a crushing victory? Yeah, we might. God forbid we might lose. That's why we're all mission-oriented here. I want to remind you folks of something. When I started doing radio, nobody, and I mean nobody, was endorsing candidates. Nobody. You remember that, Mr. Producer, right? People were looking at me cross-eyed. And I brought them on the program. And I went after the ruling class, the establishment, the rhinos. I remember a piece was written in National Review by my buddy, I think it was Rich Lowry, who I like very much, saying, what is this establishment versus, the base stuff? Well, it is what it is. I've been fighting this my whole life. When I supported Reagan in 76 and 80 in Pennsylvania, nobody did. Very few people did. So it's really amazing to me to just watch this and get dumber by the day. You're not learning anything. And now the polls are over, and now they're averaging it, and CNN has this one up by 5, that's an offline, or that's a yak, 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 to no end, for no point. And so we're mission-oriented here. We talk about history and philosophy, the Constitution, of course, and the law, many, many things. Some things have nothing to do with dire life and death situations. But I just don't feel I should be wasting your time behind this microphone just running through numbers and posters and all that. To what end? We have a very busy show today. In less than a half hour, Ted Cruz is on the program. He's running for his political life. We have Derrick Anderson on. Who's he? He's in Virginia 7th. He's running against this slimeball Vindman. You might remember him in the White House. Was working with the Democrats to get Trump impeached. They're running vicious, vile ads against this guy. And Kari Lake, people are writing her off for dead. Not me. She's running behind, but she's running hard. And I believe in trying to help people. This is the program that put Marco Rubio on the map. Marco Rubio doesn't even return your call, does he, Mr. Producer? Marco Rubio pops up now and then. We don't know anything about him anymore. This is the program that worked hard to get Ted Cruz the nomination and elected before anybody knew who he was. And I can go down the list. Mike Lee. When Mike Lee was running, they don't have an open primary there. They have a convention, and we backed him very, very strongly. There are others. I just can't remember all of them. So you have an impact. You, the audience, not me, you. And so when people don't show up or something like that, they're dissing you. There's so many egomaniacs in this business. Egomaniacs. And I've just decided I'm done with it. Not the business, them. I wrote one this morning just to prove my point. No reply. Done with him. Completely done with the guy. But not the only one. Then there are very nice people, too. Very nice people who contact us. We do what we can to help them, and we'll continue to do so. President Trump, we spoke to him very early this morning, I think from his hotel room. He wanted to have a push on Friday, so we've talked with him. I will run the discussion with Friday. J.D. Vance will be coming on soon. We will be. Is that tomorrow, Mr. Producer? When is that? Tomorrow? Okay, tomorrow. We want to get the vote out, and nobody's better than you. When they used to actually spend money in this business to determine who you were, who you supported, what kind of people you were, and that sort of thing. When I started in this business a few decades back, this audience was considered the most loyal audience of all audiences. You. And you are. You're also considered the smartest of all audiences. And you are. That's why we can go deep on history and the Constitution and other things, and you'll listen. We don't do things like other people do here. Not because we're trying to be different. It's because I am different. That's the bottom line. Now, I'm not going to play Joe Biden for the 4,000th time calling you garbage. Joe Biden is a sick bastard. He's always been a sick bastard, even when he had a few brain cells to rub together. This guy's a racist, segregationist. He tried to block little black kids from going to school with little white kids. Then I got to hear these individuals in the media, some in sports, some here and there, backing Joe Biden and then backing Kamala Harris. I'm sitting there, what the hell did Kamala Harris ever do for the black community? I'm quite serious. What the hell did she ever do? What did she ever do for women? Nothing. But you're supposed to vote for her, according to Obama, because she's a woman. You black guys out there, you're supposed to vote for her because, look, she's black and a woman, and you know where your loyalty lies. And they're going, what the hell are you talking about, jerk? Really. Kamala Harris gave a speech last night. Almost nobody watched except the media. Almost nobody watched except the media. Not just because Joe Biden's an idiot and called us, you, garbage, but because nobody cares about her. Even the people voting for her, they don't care about her. They just hate Trump. And that's why our brilliant friend Joel Pollack over at Breitbart, he kept track of this. He had the stomach to do it. Most people don't. Her 13 big lies. She spends her speech trashing Trump, literally lying about every position he's ever taken. She's the one that started with the fascist Hitler and all this stuff. Then at the end she says, can't we just unite? Can't we just get together? Like she's Rodney King. It's ridiculous. She lied. She sent quote, an armed mob to the United States Capitol to overturn the will of the people. No, he didn't. He's not charged with that, and he didn't do it. She's a liar. He has an enemies list of people, I quote, he intends to prosecute. No, he doesn't. You do, you jerk. Lie number 2. Quote, He says that one of his highest priorities is to set free the violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers on January 6th. No, he doesn't. He wants to set free a couple of thousand who weren't violent, who've been rounded up and mistreated. Number 4, she said Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against the citizens who simply disagree with him. What kind of a sickening lie is that? It's just sick. Number 5, quote, I will always tell the truth. She never tells the truth. She lies about everything. Everything. And then flip-flops and acts like I've always said. I've been clear. Number 6, listen to this one. Trump wants, quote, tax cuts for billionaires and big corporations. The vast majority of big corporatists and billionaires are backing her. That's how she got $1.2 billion to run propaganda right up to the day of the election. Trump cut taxes for the middle class. That's a fact. That is a mathematical fact. He's made proposals for the middle class. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. No tax on Social Security benefits. And so forth. She didn't make those proposals as a senator, as vice president, even as a candidate. To the extent she made them, she stole them from him. She has no plan for the middle class other than to control, you neo-Nazis. You garbage out there. That's right. That's how they view you on the left. I've said 100 times, this election is between the ruling class and we the people. And the ruling class views us as whatever they say, garbage, extremists, radicals, to be controlled. Our speech needs to be controlled. Ask John Kerry. Ask Hillary Clinton. Ask the Harris-Biden regime that had tried to do that from day one. Ask them. Number 7, he will pay for these tax cuts for billionaires, of course, with a 20% national sales tax. You see, he's talking about tariffs. She says there'll be a 20% national sales tax on everything. First of all, to have a national sales tax, you would need congressional approval. You might even need a constitutional amendment. So they take the words, because this is what Marxist jihadists do, and they twist them and they lie about them. There's not going to be a 20% sales tax. And I want you union guys out there who know that Trump is trying to protect the steel industry and so forth and so on to understand what she's saying. She's saying if the communist Chinese want to destroy our steel industry, go for it. Go for it. That's what she's saying. Most of these tariff Trump talk about have to deal with the communist Chinese, how they steal our know-how, our technology, steal our businesses, copy our businesses, and then sell our stuff back to us. Trump says no. Apparently Kamala Harris says yes. Listen to this one. Number 8, quote, he tried to cut Medicare and Social Security every year. What a liar. This has been fact-checked over and over and over again. He's never proposed cutting Medicare and Social Security. She has. She wants to put illegal aliens on Medicare. She may deny it now. That's what she said. And what she means by that is Medicare will be killed. It'll be destroyed. She says, quote, he would ban abortion nationwide. Has Trump said over and over again, I'm not going to do that? So why does she keep putting words in his mouth? Look at these lies. That's number 9. Number 10, Trump would restrict access to birth control and IVF. Birth control? Trump would control birth control? Has he said that ever, Mr. Producer? What the hell is she talking about? She's trying to scare the crap out of people, particularly women. She wants to win a race based on absolute lies. She's a psychopath. And IVF, it's Trump who promoted it first before anybody else. He didn't oppose it, but she says it anyway because she knows she won't be fact-checked by the phony fact-checkers or the media. They're all in. Number 11, Trump killed a border security bill. You know, you're in this audience. 6 Democrats voted against it. Trump didn't kill it. She killed it. Biden killed it. It enshrines up to 8,000 illegal aliens a day. Over 2 million. And that doesn't even count gotaways. It enshrines catch and release within the United States rather than stay in Mexico. And I can go on and on. Do you want to pay for the lawyers for illegal aliens who are coming across the border, including Venezuelan gang members and MS-13 gang members? Well, you can't even pay your own bills? That's the bill she's talking about. She says, and I'll reintroduce it, and it'll die. She has no plan for securing the border because she's not going to do it. She has no plan for cutting costs in food and energy and clothing and housing because she's going to contribute continually to inflation. She was the deciding vote, that tie-breaking vote as vice president, as she was 33 times. She was the one to get that bill passed that made your lives miserable. She said 12. Trump called soldiers suckers and losers. This has been debunked as a hoax over and over and over again. He never did. And we know he never would. 13. Trump wants to put people who disagree with him in jail. It's a quote from her speech last night. They want to put him in prison. God forbid if he loses the election, they're going to put him in prison. They're certainly going to try. They put Bannon in prison, Navarro in prison. They'll put all kinds of people in prison. They're going to unleash 87,000 IRS agents against you. They'll put you in prison. So they're accusing Trump of what they've done and what they want to do. 13 bold-faced lies. That's her speech last night. And she wants your vote. And at the end, she says, I believe in unity. This is a woman who never agreed to a bipartisan bill in the Senate. Never signed up for one. Was to the left of Bernie Sanders. As I said, even as vice president, 33 tie-breaking votes on the most radical legislation, the most in American history by any vice president. Called the Border Patrol, or ICE, Klansmen. Calls you neo-Nazis. Her boss calls you garbage. How much more of this are you going to take? This is the ruling class trying to rule you. They have no respect for you whatsoever. You, the American people. This government, this country exists for you, not Kamala Harris, not the Democrat Party. And where does she give this speech? Washington, D.C. That's her constituency. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The upcoming election isn't just about choosing leaders. It's about bracing for the economic fallout that could follow. You know, history shows that post-election periods can bring economic turmoil. But this time, with our national debt skyrocketing and global tensions rising, we could be facing unprecedented risks. We could see runaway inflation or even a currency crisis. That's why I encourage people to diversify and look at gold as a financial safety net. Gold has been said to be a reliable wealth shield for thousands of years through some of the worst economic storms. And for my gold investments, I trust Advantage Gold. They're who I buy from exclusively, and I recommend them to anyone serious about helping to protect their wealth. You can call them right now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. You can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be happy you did. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
What they've done to our country is never, there's never going to be an excuse for what they've done to this country. For the past 9 years, Kamala and her party have called us racist, bigots, fascists, deplorables, irredeemables, Nazis, and they've called me Hitler. You know, many years ago, I had a father who's a great guy. He's a strong guy, a legitimate guy, strong. But, you know, he always used to tell me, never use the word Nazi and never use the word Hitler. Now we're called Nazis, and I'm called Hitler.
You like being called Nazis? You like being called garbage? By people who say they're going to unite the country? By people who say they're going to bring people together at the table? These people are very diabolical. They are evil. I'll be right back. Folks, we may be standing on the precipice of a post-election economic meltdown. Any election can send shockwaves through our financial system, but this time, the stakes could be higher than ever. Reckless spending, mounting debt, misguided policies has set the stage for potential economic disaster. We can see rapid inflation or even attempts to undermine our currency. That's why I've always relied on diversification and gold for protection. It's been said to be a timeless safeguard against economic chaos, and in these uncertain times, it's more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold exclusively. They're one of the top gold companies in America, and they're who I turn to for my own investments. Call 800-900-8000 right now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help protect you from post-election chaos. You might even qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Mark Levin, the research arm of conservative media. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
A couple of these races I take very personally, and none more so than the race for the Senate in Texas. And you should too, America. Because you, this audience, you were responsible for the nomination of Ted Cruz in the state of Texas, among others. And when nobody gave him a chance, you helped carry him over the finish line. And he's been one of the greatest senators I've ever seen. That's for sure. And we did that as part of the Tea Party movement, which we were also very much involved in here and promoting here. And now we're in the Liberty movement to save our country before it's too late. And here's Ted Cruz running for re-election, and the same forces, the same ruling class, except they're spending $100 million to defeat him. Now look. When they defeated Ted Cruz or they defeated Donald Trump, they're defeating us. They've called us neo-Nazis. They've called us garbage. It's the ruling class in Washington. They hate our guts. And so when we have soldiers out there, generals out there, who are trying to either hold their spots or take other spots, we've got to get behind them because they're there for us. They're not there for their own ego. On the left, it's their ego. Our guys are not. Senator Ted Cruz, how are you, sir?
Mark, I'm doing terrific. We are crisscrossing the state of Texas in the middle of a 53-stop bus tour, and it is always great to be with you, my friend.
All right, my brother. So tell us how it looks right now. I know it's very, very tight. Do you feel things are moving in one direction or the other, or you don't know and you're just fighting like hell?
Well, it is a full-on epic battle. The Texas Senate race is now the single most expensive Senate race in the entire country. Chuck Schumer has been explicit. I'm his number one target, and they are spending over $100 million trying to defeat me, literally every day or two. Schumer and George Soros put millions more into the race. Right now, if you turn on the TV in any city in Texas, just about every other ad you see on TV is an attack ad. They're coming at me. I will tell you the public polling, there has been poll after poll after poll. There have been more than a dozen polls in the last month that show this as a 1-point or a 2-point or a 3-point race. There was one poll last week that showed me and this radical left-wing Democrat, Colin Allred, tied in the race. I don't know where we are. I am encouraged that we're seeing a good Republican turnout in early vote, but we are just going 18 hours a day. We're campaigning on the ground, trying to turn people out, and the way we are fighting back against this onslaught of cash from Chuck Schumer and George Soros is patriots across Texas and across America who are going to tedcruz.org, and who are contributing, giving $10 or $25 or $50 or $100 or even more. And it's, it's the only way we counteract this massive money. And we're at the stage, Mark, it is literally every day. We look at all the money that came in that day, and we put it all up on TV and all up on digital and all up on connecting with voters. We are 6 days away from Election Day, and it is hand to mouth. So for your listeners, if you go to tedcruz.org right now and you contribute right now and you give $100, the $100 you give tomorrow will be up on TV in Texas, trying to make sure we turn out conservatives and trying to make sure the voters know the truth about my record and the radical open borders, anti-Israel, leftist Colin Allred on the other side.
And by helping you and so forth, you also help Donald Trump. You help the down ballot, these various congressional seats and other seats, correct?
Absolutely, yes. We are turning people out. So at every event we have across the state, we have congressional candidates show up. We have local and state candidates. So we're trying to do turnout to help the ballot up and down the ticket. But look, Texas is the big enchilada for the Democrats, particularly Chuck Schumer is looking at this race. Right now, the Democrats have a 51-49 majority. Republicans are leading in 2 states. We're leading in West Virginia. We're going to win there, and we're leading in Montana. If we win West Virginia and Montana, that would give Republicans a 51-49 majority in the Senate. Schumer's looking at those same polls, and the only way Schumer can stay majority leader is to come to Texas and take me out. My last race, I won by less than 3 points. The margin was 2.6%. And so Chuck Schumer is looking at that and saying, okay, all I need is 3 points in Texas. And I, number one, take out Cruz. And there is nobody in the country other than Donald Trump that Chuck Schumer would rather take out than me. But number two, if they win Texas, that could give Chuck Schumer the 50th vote he needs to be majority leader, to end the filibuster, and to permanently change this country. As AOC and Bernie Sanders said when they came to Texas to campaign for Colin Allred, they said, if we win Texas, we change America for a generation. They know what the stakes are. They win this race, and it becomes irreversible, the damage that is done to this country.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, when it comes to your race, the free media in Texas, they're constantly attacking you. They're constantly trying to undermine you. So he has all the free media, and you know, there's so many people in Texas, these big cities too, that it's really impossible to go toe to toe. So you have to hope that so many patriots in Texas who are familiar with you, or familiar with the courageous stances you have taken, understand that you're taking on the free media, you're taking on $100 million in paid propaganda, and you're taking on, in many respects, the Washington, D.C. ruling class that simply cannot tolerate somebody like you.
Look, that is absolutely right. So Chuck Schumer is flooding cash into this race. Unfortunately, Mitch McConnell is not spending a penny in Texas. Mitch has over $400 million in the biggest Republican super PAC in the country. He has not spent a dime. So I'm taking incoming from Chuck Schumer every single day, and Mitch McConnell is nowhere to be found, which means, and the reason is, Mitch uses that super PAC to reward senators who obey his orders and to punish those who don't. And you know what? I don't work for Mitch McConnell. I work for 30 million Texans, and I'm going to honor that commitment and fight for them and stand up to the Washington swamp. But what it means is, without those resources, Schumer's spending the swamp's money against me. And the only way I can counteract that is patriots across Texas and across this country who listen to your show, Mark, who love America, who love the Constitution, who love freedom, and who go to tedcruz.org right now, who go to tedcruz.org and contribute. That's the only way to counteract the attacks that are coming in every hour of every day right now.
You've been endorsed by Donald Trump. You've been endorsed by conservatives and constitutionalists in Texas and all over the country. The idea of taking you out, and ladies and gentlemen, they want to take Ted out because they want to take us out. Let's just be honest. We are constitutionalists. We are conservatives. That's what Ted is. He's not. They pretend he's controversial. You're controversial now if you believe in Judeo-Christian beliefs, if you want to secure a border and support the cops. You're controversial now if you don't think kids should get sex change operations, certainly not without parental notification. You don't think men should play in boys in women's sports. In other words, everything's turned inside out and upside down, and Ted's the point of the spear. So they want to defeat him, so his voice, they hope, is silenced. So our voice is silenced. Again, they've been calling us neo-Nazis, garbage, right-wing extremists, MAGA. I mean, we are patriotic American citizens who want to protect our country for our kids and our grandkids. And that's your message, basically, isn't it, Ted?
Absolutely, yes. What I fight for every day is jobs, freedom, and security. I fight for the Constitution, your free speech, your religious liberty, your Second Amendment rights. And listen, I'm not afraid of the left. The reason they're coming after me, look, if you want to see just the intensity of the hatred from the left, take a look at the Democrat National Convention in Chicago. When my opponent, Colin Allred, spoke there, he spoke for 3 minutes. Nobody on planet Earth remembers a word the guy said. But when he was done, the entire stadium spontaneously burst into chanting, "Beat Ted Cruz." 20,000 elected Democrats. By the way, no other elected official got that treatment. I got to tell you, Mark, I'm pretty proud of that. These SOBs are trying to destroy America, and they see me as standing directly in their way. And they're right. I'm going to fight with every breath in my body to stop their Marxist endeavors and their efforts to open up the borders and invade this country and destroy our liberties and take down the Constitution. And they know that. But I got to tell you, Colin Allred raised over $1 million in the 24 hours that followed that. And so the money is flooding in on the other side. And the counter to that is great Americans who love our nation going to tedcruz.org and saying, we're not going to let you come in and try to buy the state of Texas. And I got to say, you and I talked about on your TV show this weekend, the consequences of a loss. Now, look, we all hope we have a great election 6 days from now. We hope Trump is reelected. I'm all in trying to help President Trump get reelected. But every one of these swing states is close. They're 1 or 2 points. So if, God forbid, it is a bad election, if, God forbid, Kamala Harris is the president, I think we are likely in that circumstance to lose the House as well. I think the White House and the House move in tandem. If that happens, the Senate is the last check and balance, a Republican Senate. And if Schumer succeeds in taking me out, if he gains 3 points in Texas, right now Chuck Schumer has 49 votes to end the filibuster. The filibuster is the requirement of 60 votes to take up major legislation. Colin Allred has pledged to be the 50th vote. If he succeeds and Allred wins, he gets 3 points in Texas. Here's what January looks like. January of next year, Chuck Schumer, number one, would end the filibuster, and then he would pass 4 pieces of legislation in rapid succession. He would, number one, have a federal takeover of every election in America and strike down every election integrity law in every state. Every photo ID law he would strike down. He would legalize ballot harvesting in every state in the union. Number two, he would add 2 new states to the union, D.C. and Puerto Rico. He would do that because the Democrats believe that would give them 4 new Democrat senators, so Democrats would never again lose the Senate. Number 3, he would grant amnesty and immediate voting rights to every illegal alien in America, 20 to 30 million across the country. The instant that happened, Texas would turn blue. Every statewide elected official in Texas would lose the next election. The governor would lose, the lieutenant governor would lose, the attorney general would lose, all 9 Republican Supreme Court justices would lose. Texas would become California. And number 4, they would pack the U.S. Supreme Court. They would add 4 left-wing justices, grow it from 9 to 13 Supreme Court justices, and take away our free speech, our religious liberty, and our Second Amendment rights. And Mark, what's terrifying, I don't believe a word I said there is hyperbole. Chuck Schumer has 49 votes to do all of that. And if Colin Allred wins in Texas, he will have 50, and we are literally 1 vote away from an irreversible situation where if that happens, there's nothing to do to turn it around. There's no subsequent election. Nope. Democracy dies in America if Chuck Schumer fundamentally changes this country. That's what's at stake in this election.
And that is what Kamala Harris and the rest of them did in California. Republicans can't win. They changed the election laws. They packed the courts. They have supermajorities in their legislature. They have enormous power, and they just keep empowering themselves over and over and over again. And then they go through what I call these Potemkin elections. They go through elections, which the outcome is already known in advance. You make a very, very important point. So, folks, please help Ted. This is probably his last appearance before the day of the election, Tuesday. You can go to tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org. Do whatever you can to help him out, folks. And in Texas, you need to volunteer. You need to get people out to vote. You got to do what you got to do. You've got to be the Minutemen of 2024. And by that, I mean turn out the vote, get to the voting places, and make sure you bring other people with you. Any final word, Ted?
Well, I will say if you're in Texas, please come out and vote. Early voting continues this week through Friday. If you haven't voted yet, please come out and vote. And if you have voted, get your friends to vote. Get your family to vote. Election day is Tuesday. We need as many people as possible to show up and vote. And I will just say, you're going to tedcruz.org. Listen, I'm not someone who cries wolf. In prior cycles, I spent thousands of hours campaigning for conservatives, for Republicans across the country. This race is a real race. It's a real fight. I need your help. And I will say, if on Wednesday of next week you woke up and Kamala Harris was the president and we had a Democratic House, and Chuck Schumer was majority leader, and they permanently changed the rules, and the country was lost, if you would feel horrified, if you would feel sick to your stomach, if you would weep for our nation, use all of that sentiment and channel it into right now standing up and stopping it, going to tedcruz.org, giving sacrificially so that we can make sure that doesn't happen. I don't believe it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen because of your leadership, your sacrifice, your love for America. You're going to tedcruz.org right now and saying, we will defend this great nation. We will defend the Constitution.
All right, Ted, go get him, baby. I guess on this bus tour, you get to stop at a lot of diners. You know, if I wasn't limping around on one leg, I might go with you. I love these diners, especially in Texas.
There's a ton of barbecue and a ton of amazing Mexican food, and Mark will save it for you.
All right, my brother. Keep it in the freezer then. All right.
All right. God bless.
Ted Cruz, good man. God bless you as well. That's tedcruz.org, folks. I'm bringing on candidates who need your help, and who are out there to help us. And they're all under vicious smear campaigns with millions of dollars. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The upcoming election isn't just about choosing leaders. It's about bracing for the economic fallout that could follow. You know, history shows that post-election periods can bring economic turmoil. But this time, with our national debt skyrocketing and global tensions rising, we could be facing unprecedented risks. We could see runaway inflation or even a currency crisis. That's why I encourage people to diversify and look at gold as a financial safety net. Gold has been said to be a reliable wealth shield for thousands of years through some of the worst economic storms. And for my gold investments, I trust Advantage Gold. They're who I buy from exclusively, and I recommend them to anyone serious about helping to protect their wealth. You can call them right now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. You can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be happy you did. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Did you ever think you'd be called garbage by your own president? By your own government? Did you ever think you'd be called neo-Nazis because you show up? Freedom to assemble under the First Amendment? Because you support Donald Trump for president? Neo-Nazis? Did you see the Orthodox Jews there carrying the Israeli flag and the American flag and so forth and so on? Patriotic people? Did you ever think you'd be called these names and be viewed this way and treated this way? By the ruling class in Washington, D.C. and their puppets, their mouthpieces in the media? I mean, I'm going to tell you something. We don't win this election, it's only going to get worse. They're going to think they can bully us, corral us, feed us propaganda, cut off our free speech rights. This is where they're headed. They basically have said so. So they use these totalitarian phrases to try and define Donald Trump when it is they. When it is they who believe these things. We've got a ton more to do. We've got 2 more candidates I want you to listen to before this election. And we're not done. We keep our foot down on the gas pedal. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. President is campaigning in North Carolina and Wisconsin today. And Brett Favre endorsed, I see Schwarzenegger endorsed Harris. But of course, because like her husband, he impregnated his maid, his nanny. So they have a lot in common, these two sleazeballs. He calls Trump un-American. Do you see where these people go? He's a Nazi. He's a fascist, a dictator, an American. He's going to use the military to round people up. Folks, if you don't put an end to this in this election, it is going to get so bad. It's going to be so bad. I'm quite serious. The country will never be the same again, and your lives will never be the same again. This is no joke. This is a fact. Here's Brett Favre. Go.
I want to address the comment that Joe Biden made yesterday, or last night, that said the supporters of Donald Trump, us, are garbage. Are garbage. I can assure you we're not garbage.
Let's just stop a second. We, the American people, we have to defend ourselves against these people that were not garbage, that were not neo-Nazis. We're defending ourselves against a Democrat Party that's filled with neo-Nazis and Jew haters and Christian haters and American haters, Marxists and jihadists. A Democrat Party that has a history of inhumanity of the worst kind. Let me say, that scourge of racism and segregation and slavery on our history was brought to you by the Democrat Party. And people need to look in the mirror and ask themselves seriously why they're Democrats other than they inherited it from their parents and grandparents. These people talk the language of the old Confederacy. They talk the language. Yes, they do. They talk the language of third world dictatorships, turning people against people. Nobody's going to agree to be locking up people and throw them in prison. The fact that I have to explain this should be enough for you to turn on these people. I see Nikki Haley's people aren't sure who they're going to vote for. Nikki Haley's people aren't sure who they're going to vote for? Are they out of their minds? Are they out of their minds? There's no turning back if she gets reelected, and she'll get elected another 4 years. They'll make sure the system is set in certain ways where she can't lose. The media will continue the propaganda. This country will be utterly and completely different. So will our allies. The state of Israel may not survive because she hates Israel. She hates Israel. She's an anti-Semite. True and true. But she's married to a Jew, right? Bernie Sanders is a Jew. He hates Israel, and he's an anti-Semite. The New York Times is filled with anti-Semites, including at the top, and they were during the Holocaust, and they proved themselves. But they're American haters. American haters. You watch this conga line on MSLSD, they're disgusting from morning to night. Disgusting. Propagandists, cover-up artists. I'll give you an example. Here's Joe Scarborough on a show that's actually named after him, The Morning Schmo. Listen to this. Cut 7, go.
Something immediately tried to clarify it, Joe, but it's certainly a story on the right.
He immediately tried to clarify. He didn't mean garbage. That's right. That's right. And when he called MAGA other names, he didn't mean it. When he called Trump a dictator, a threat to democracy, he didn't mean it. Joe Biden has been saying filthy, poisonous, cancerous things his entire life about blacks, about Israel, about fellow Americans, and about Trump. Joe Biden is the one behind the scenes with Kamala Harris who's been trying to put Donald Trump in prison. And the Scarboroughs are fine with that. The MSNBC network, Comcast, they are fine with that. Go ahead.
The next basket of deplorables.
Well, of course. And Donald Trump says shocking things every day in Fox News. And
why do you have to always talk about Donald Trump, Joe? That's where you go. That's a real cheap-ass trick. Why don't you address what's in front of you? Here's what I will say. I don't remember Donald Trump calling tens of millions of people who may not support him neo-Nazis, fascists, zombies, like you and your wife and your panelists. I don't remember any of that. Him calling these people garbage. No, in fact, he's trying to win various segments within the Democrat Party to his side. In the black community, the Hispanic community, even the Muslim community, other communities. He's not calling American people names. He doesn't call American citizens names. He doesn't. And he hasn't. They do. It's the ruling class. They want their power. They want their money. They want their fame. And you and I threaten it. And we threaten it even with the Republican Party. You look at the Liz Cheneys of the world and the Barbara Comstocks. hustlers, grifters, making an easy buck of big government. No principles whatsoever. No allegiance, no loyalty whatsoever. I'm quite serious about this. It's Washington, D.C. and the establishment versus the rest of the country. Why do you think she gave her speech in Washington, D.C. yesterday? Oh, and she's surrounded by American flags. They hate the American flag. Their militia, the jihadists in the street, the Marxists in the street, burn the American flag, and they never object, do they? They're playing you with $1.2 billion. The free media with tens of billions of dollars. They're all playing you, America. That's what they're doing. They're making us a poor country. Oh, they came out with government statistics today. Did you see that, Mr. Producer? Look at this. We have decent growth and so forth. Most of the growth occurred in the government. Government growth. Steve Moore, our great friend and the economist, he looked at it closely, looked at the numbers. He said, wait a minute. Most of this is government. Well, of course it is. They protect themselves. They protect their so-called industries. They protect their bureaucracy. And we're the suckers. And we're the suckers. And you either throw in with them or you're punished in one way or another. Now we have to draw a line here. This election, again, is not about the technical issues and policy. This election is about whether we have a constitutional republic. She keeps talking about a democracy because she doesn't believe in a constitutional republic, don't you see? Every tyrant, whether they be Marxist, fascist, or anything in between, whether they be jihadist, Islamist, they all talk about democracy. Some of them even hold elections. So what? They're meaningless. The word democracy coming out of Kamala Harris's mouth is meaningless. She doesn't mean power to the people. She means power to her people on the left, the Marxists and the jihadis. That's what she means. That's what she means. You know, after the election, people say, what can we do about it? There's nothing we can do about it. The time to do something about it is right now. Right now. Now. There's no other time. Now, it could be when this election's over that the people who are Marxists and jihadists and hate this country outnumber us, in which case it's over. But when I read reports that 32% of Christians aren't voting, that like 20% of the members of the NRA aren't voting, I scratch my head and say, what the hell is going on here? The anti-Christians, the anti-Jews, the anti-Americans, they vote. They swarm the polling places. I want you to hear this guy, Tim Walz. Tim Walz, can you imagine him as Vice President of the United States? I want you to listen to this. This is CBS News. Oh, they have Tony Dokoupil back, Mr. Producer. He's back from his re-education camp. This is the guy that dared to challenge the racist. I'm not even giving you his name. He keeps pushing the racism about white racism and Jew racism in the Middle East. Remember all that? That he can understand if people would join with October 7th. This is a scumbag, this guy. And Tony Dokoupil, 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 stood up to him. And for that, CBS sent him to a re-education seminar. But here he is with Walz now. Cut 8, go.
I want to get your reaction to the president's comments, but I want to put it into a larger context of your recent comment comparing the Sunday Trump rally to a Nazi rally. And I would also throw in there Obama's bitter clingers, guns and religion comment from a while back, the deplorable line from Hillary Clinton's campaign, and the way that Democrats are seen by some voters as disrespecting them. And I have to ask, does that undercut this closing message of unity from your campaign?
No, certainly not. And for Tony, for me, I've represented rural areas. I've represented Democrats, Republicans, Independents. Same thing with the vice president.
Look, I've heard enough of this scum. No, it doesn't undermine unity. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman and this guy have never been for unity. They're lightning rods. You saw Kamala Harris go after Kavanaugh. You saw Kamala Harris go after the ICE official, that they're like the Klan. She's never done a bipartisan bill with Republicans all the time she was in the Senate. Never. And she was the most extreme senator, followed by the most extreme vice president in American history, to the left of Bernie Sanders. Don't buy this unity crap. Walz is hard left, Marxist, jihadist, And that's why he was picked by Kamala Harris. There is nothing in her history, nothing in her past that shows unity, bipartisanship of any kind. She's a true believer. She is a bomb thrower. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. These congressional races are very important. By the way, Donald Trump is speaking at Green Bay, Wisconsin. He's wearing a garbage man vest. Absolute genius. All you working people out there, do you understand which party hates you and which party embraces you? Derrick Anderson is running for a very important seat in Virginia, the 7th Congressional District. He's facing an enormous onslaught of money and lies, ads that I'm watching on television here in Virginia. It's a very important seat. He's a very solid conservative, solid family man. Derrick Anderson, how are you, sir?
Hey, Mark. Thank you so much. We are, 6 days away, but we are pounding the pavement, sir.
Now, you're running against who?
I'm running against Yevgeny Vindman, which you know, the story about him, right, with his story with him and his brother. As we all know, my opponent Vindman is focused on his past. He's focused on his revenge tour with President Trump and doubling down on Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's failed policies. But, we're focused on the future. We're focused on making things affordable for folks in Central Virginia, making our communities safe, making sure our border is secure. What's interesting, you mentioned it, Mark, my opponent continues to lie about me for a variety of reasons. The reason why he's doing it is because he can't answer questions about the lies that he's told about himself, right? He's lied about his military record. He's lied about his rank. He's lied about his time overseas, saying that he used weapons of war in the battlefield, when he knows very well he didn't. And look, Mark, I'm a former Green Beret with 6 deployments overseas, including Iraq and Afghanistan. This guy's not going to out-army me, right? And if he's willing to lie about this, what else is he willing to lie about? So, that's why this race is so important. We're getting outspent 10-1 for my opponent, but all polls are showing that we are completely tied. And that's why it's so important for folks like your listeners to go to DerrickAnderson.com. That's DerrickAnderson.com to come support us, help us out to get over the finish line, to make sure that someone who only wants power is not in power, and that someone who's from the district, that grew up in the district, help a Green Beret get into Congress.
Tell us about your district, the towns that are in your district, and is it Republican, Democrat, marginal, who knows?
So this seat, Mark, was held for decades by Republican. In 2018, we lost the seat to Abigail Spanberger, who, as we all know, time and time again, has said that, she's a moderate. When she's not, she's voted with Nancy Pelosi, 100% of the time. But look, my district is in Central Virginia. It centers around Fredericksburg. I grew up in Spotsylvania County, where my mom owned small businesses, but we've got Spotsylvania, we've got Caroline, King George, Fredericksburg, Stafford, the eastern side of Prince William County, so that I-95 corridor, Culpeper, Orange, Madison, and Greene. So, we've got a microcosm of the United States. We've got the mountains in the west and the Piedmont. We've got the east where the Potomac River is, and we go up to the northern Virginia sprawl up towards Prince William County. So we've got military installations like Marine Corps Base Quantico, where 2 illegal immigrants of Jordanian descent attempted to breach the front gate posing as Amazon drivers. Those 2 individuals were released on bail. And so I took great issue when some of these news outlets were going after our governor, Governor Youngkin here in Virginia, saying, why is he talking about the border in Virginia? Look, the border crisis is making every state in the United States a border state, and we're feeling it in Virginia, especially when you're seeing 5 people a day in the Commonwealth of Virginia overdosing on fentanyl, Mark. So, we're feeling the pain here in the 7th Congressional District. I was up at the slug line today in Stafford County, where folks can pick up a ride to get up to Northern Virginia. And a lot of them are doing it because, they can't afford the gas or the tolls. So they try to carpool up there. And the number one thing I hear time and time again from folks, Mark, is they can't afford to live. They can't afford to live. A quarter of Virginians right now are delinquent on their credit cards, Mark. This is insanity. So it's time that we start making change. That's why this election coming up in 6 days is so important.
Vindman is notorious to most of the country because of his leaks out of the White House, isn't he?
Yeah, Mark. So that's his entire story, and that's why, I find it very interesting that his entire race is centered around a revenge tour with President Trump. We've seen his sister-in-law state some of the most horrendous comments that you've ever heard. I don't even want to repeat them, but after the second assassination attempt of President Trump, she made some very disparaging remarks against President Trump, and I thought, this is the kind of people that we're dealing with. They don't care about the people here in the district. They care about power. They care about fame. They care about themselves. And that's what's, so disheartening to me, especially when I'm somebody who grew up. I mean, the chairman of the Board of Supervisors in Spotsylvania County, we went to middle school together, Mark. So, I mean, this area I care about. I went and served my country overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan, had the opportunity to go to law school. And then I come back here, and after seeing the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan, seeing those individuals clutched to the side of an airplane, seeing babies being thrown over barbed wire, seeing those 13 U.S. service members being killed, considering that I lost 5 of my guys in Afghanistan, that's why I jumped into this race. And when I see somebody like him who lies about his military rank, lies about his business dealings, lies about me, someone from the district, it really is disheartening to see that's what he is. But again, that's why we've been putting the pedal to the metal, Mark. That's why, we're up every morning early going to these commuter lots. That's why we're going to early voting locations and talking to folks. Because I can tell you, up and down my district, east to west, north to south, people want to see change, and they're sick and tired of the current administration and my opponent, who'd be a rubber stamp for their policies, do the same old for the last 4 years. It's been a disastrous economy, a disastrous border.
You're listening to Derrick Anderson. He's running for the Virginia 7th Congressional District, which is a swing district. It goes in both directions. He's running against Vindman, who's a reprobate, who is a very, very nasty and evil guy. I can see from the ads they're attacking you personally, attacking your family personally. They have an enormous amount of money. DerrickAnderson.com if you can help him. Derrick Anderson.com. It'll be on all my social sites. Derrick Anderson, I'm going to hold you over a little bit. I have a few more questions if you don't mind. We'll be right back. The big wireless carriers want to limit you to 2 choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
Derrick Anderson, you're a combat veteran. You served your country bravely. You come back to your country, you see this guy Vindman, who's a reprobate, what he's trying to do to you, destroy your reputation and character. You see what the Washington Post and these other phony newspapers are trying to do to you. You see a political party, at the national level at least, that is organized, that raises money for the purpose of destroying their opponents. They don't really want to stand toe-to-toe. They don't really want to have a real debate with you over the issues. Sometimes do you scratch your head and say, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, Mark. What's fascinating, too, and you mentioned debate, which I think is important, is, we've, throughout our race, we've accepted pretty much every single TV appearance, every single debate that you could possibly have. My opponent has refused them. I think we're up to 4 or 5 debates where, look, we want to make sure that the people in the 7th District here in the Commonwealth of Virginia have the opportunity to hear from who their potential elected representative is going to be, right? My opponent, time and time again, decided not to do those things. And so I've had to sit, on a stage by myself and essentially debate a moderator or debate myself, for that matter. And so my opponent has refused to, time and time again, come up on stage and speak about where he stands on policies. In fact, the first question we did have one debate, Mark. In the one debate we had, the first question was about the economy. I talked about a little girl here in Spotsylvania County who wrote me a letter. She's 10 years old. Her name is Ella. That said, Derrick, can you fix the government and the spending so my mom can buy snacks again? And I talked about what their family was going through, the fact they can't save for the future, they can't save for their kids' college education or for their retirement. I talked about how we need to stop the overspending. We need to make sure we keep taxes low. We need to get a balanced budget. We need to get U.S. energy back up and running. And I posed to my opponent what his plan was, because we've seen that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have had a failed policy when it comes to the economy. And my opponent's initial response was he attacked me for falsities. He lied. He lied on stage time and time again. And this is what we're dealing with, Mark. We're dealing with folks that have no plan for our future. Again, they care about themselves, so they will lie to any extent to gain power. And so, I'm very confident in what's going to happen on November 5th up and down the ballot. I'm very confident in what we're doing here in the district because, again, all of our small businesses in the district, Jimmy's Stop and Shop, which is, here in Spotsylvania County, it's a smaller stop, but it's a community-based area. I speak with them quite often, and the number one thing I asked him, I said, Jimmy, what's killing you and your business right now? He just pointed up at the lights, Mark. He said, my electric bills are killing me right now. But again, the opposition, my opponent and his party, have no plans for all of it, and that's why this is so important, Mark.
Let me tell you, I don't know you. First we've talked. You sound like a fantastic person, that you would be a fantastic member of the House of Representatives. I would like to endorse you, Derrick Anderson, running for the Virginia 7th Congressional District, and I would like to denounce Vindman as the lowlife that he's always been. Mr. Vindman, you want to come on this show, you're more than welcome to, but you better get ready. This is not some kiss-ass program for you and other leftists. So I just want to say, Derrick Anderson, you'd be a great candidate. So if people want to help you, where do they go? I mean, a great congressman. Where would they go?
Yeah, Mark, if folks want to support me, get me over the finish line in these next 6 days, whether it's door knocking, whether it's phone calls, whether it's a donation, every bit counts to combat their lies. They can go to DerrickAnderson.com. That's DerrickAnderson.com to help get a Green Beret up in Congress.
Man, I'd love to have you there. All right, my brother, you take care of yourself. Keep at it, okay?
Thanks, Mark. Much appreciated, brother.
All right, you too. Derrick Anderson, this guy would be great. Doesn't he sound it? So Donald Trump is standing for the regular American. Donald Trump is standing for we the people, who this country was founded for and founded by, against the oligarchs in both parties, against the ruling class that is destroying this country and that wants to empower itself. You can't tell me one thing that Kamala Harris has done as a senator or vice president for this country. Not one. We can all tell you what she's done against us and against this country. You can't tell me one thing, that she's done for the black community. Any. You can't tell me one thing, that she's done for women in this country. Nothing. Look at the slavery, the slavery of women on the southern border. She doesn't even fight that. She doesn't even talk about it. She talks about things she has no control over. She's a psychopath who can tell you lie after lie. Hey, look, if there's somebody out there who's so brilliant, so smart, so famous or infamous that they want to defend her, then call in. I'll go toe-to-toe. I'm all ready. But be prepared to be embarrassed. Be prepared to be embarrassed. Not because I want to humiliate you, because you're humiliating yourselves. These polls, 50 to 49, 49 to 49, 48 to 47. Maybe we already lost the country. I don't know. Maybe these polls are all screwed up. I don't know. Maybe there's a silent majority out there. I find this hard to believe, but I don't know. Guess we'll find out. But we have an opportunity over the course of the next 5 or 6 days to do everything we can. So when we do speak to our children and grandchildren one day, you can say what you did to save this country. I not only voted, little Tommy, I made sure your grandmother and grandfather voted. I helped a neighbor who needed help to vote to get them to the polls. I helped them get a ballot. I did ABC, XYZ. We did what we needed to do, and we saved the country in the election of 2024. Or I sat on my ass and the country was stolen from us. We have an all-volunteer army. This guy, Derrick Anderson, who we just spoke to, puts his life on the line in Iraq and Afghanistan, sees what happened in Afghanistan, decides to run. So what do? They try and destroy him. This guy, Vindman. Vindman's a sleazeball. Look what he did to Donald Trump. Look how he undermined Donald Trump. You can oppose Donald Trump. Look at this guy. It's like John Kelly. Nobody knows what the hell John Kelly's talking about. And, of course, they'll use John Kelly. They'll use anybody. Anybody that's going to call you Hitler or neo-Nazi has no character. No character at all. I love it. This Kamala Harris comes out. You know, I don't agree with Joe on this, with the garbage. She's been using dictator. She's been using a fascist. She could have said, stop using the word Hitler. Stop using the word neo-Nazi. She never does any of that. And yet she's surrounded by neo-Nazis. Islamists, that is jihadis, who want to destroy Jews. She's not been held to account for any of this. She's not been questioned about this circle of Jew haters and American haters, her close circle, her friend. She doesn't care because she knows she won't be held to account. Donald Trump's out there breaking his ass to save the country like nothing I've ever seen before. The man's 79 years old. He looks like he's 55 years old. He's fighting for the little guy. He's fighting for the men and women who work with their hands. He's fighting so that they can keep as much income as possible. Union, non-union, he doesn't care. Your faith, he doesn't care. Your color, he doesn't care. He goes into the Bronx. He goes to barber shops. He goes to McDonald's. And he does these things anyway, probably. He goes to little town America. He goes into the inner cities in Detroit and Philadelphia and so forth. Kamala Harris, for the first 2.5, 3 months of her campaign, she was in hiding, scared of her own shadow. Now she picks and chooses. And when she's in a format, because they said, hey, we're getting our ass kicked, you got to at least start engaging a little bit, she comes off like a fool. And all she does is attack Donald Trump. She has a hate for Donald Trump. And I want to make it clear for the second or third day in a row. These people in the media, MSNBC and CNN, they don't care if Donald Trump is taken out or not. They really don't. The way they talk, you got a panel on CNN, they're cracking jokes about the Nazis and Hitler, that Trump had to deny he's a Nazi and Hitler, and they thought it was funny. These are punks. These are vapid, useless punks who are hired by a vapid, useless CNN, which, as I recall, is owned by Time Warner, one of those companies. Useless and pathetic. And they lie through their teeth. So does she. That's all she did during her speech. I'm for unity. Oh, shut the hell up. You're not for unity. You're for Kamala. You're the most selfish, narcissistic, inexperienced, vapid, barely literate candidate to ever run for president. Talks about unity. Hers is the campaign of the Hitler campaign strategy. Talks about unity. When our streets were filled with the jihadis chasing Jewish kids, Did she say anything? Maybe one or two comments. That was it. Did she do anything? Not a thing. When those Ivy League school presidents were being questioned by a Republican committee, Elise Stefanik and others, did she insist that those presidents of those universities step down? No, she was silent. Silent for the first time in her life. And I want to say something to Arnold Schwarzenegger. What a dumbass you are, man. What a pathetic piece of you-know-what you are. You call Trump un-American. You come here from Austria. You make a fortune. You become governor. Republicans embrace you. Democrats hate you. Then you decide, you know what? I'm flipping. So he flips. Not on any principle. Because he's a fool. Because he's a self-aggrandizer. He impregnates his maid or his kid's nanny. Of course, his wife leaves him. You can't blame him. And he doesn't give a damn. Just like Dougie Emhoff. No wonder he endorsed Kamala Harris today. They have a lot in common. Him and Dougie. Him and Dougie. There's a wonderful piece, and not by a conservative that's out there. And they're saying, media, you really need to scrutinize this Doug Emhoff. He's accused of physically beating with a slap a girlfriend. How can you not investigate that? How can you not press this guy on this? Well, we know why. Jake Tapper, how come you haven't done it? Walt Blitzer, how come you haven't done it? Al Sharpton? Well, he's too stupid. Hey, Joe Scarborough, Mika, how come you haven't done it? You okay with it? Is that okay? Don't bring up Donald Trump. I'm asking you okay with it or not? Well, apparently they're okay with it at MSNBC, beating women. Apparently they're okay with it at CNN, beating women. As long as the guy wants to be the first guy with Kamala Harris. That's okay. No more Me Too movement. No. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The big wireless carriers want to limit you to two choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. So folks, stop overpaying for data you're never going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when you only need a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data you actually want. Listen to this. For just $25 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, plus mobile hotspot. Folks, stop overpaying for wireless and get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Switching is easy. There's no contract. There's no activation fees. You can even keep your phone and your number. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month when you sign up with Pure Talk. Donald Trump is, let me put it this way, he's very deserving of the presidency. Mark, nobody deserves it. You got two candidates running. You look at his background, they've tried to assassinate him twice. They've assassinated his character relentlessly. They went after his finances. They went after his family. They searched his home. They searched his wife's underwear. Who does this? The Stasi does it. The old Stasi of East Germany. The KGB does it. KGB of the Soviet Union. That's who does it. And the Democrat Party. This was all done under the Harris-Biden administration. They act like they don't know anything. They're not looking at anything. They couldn't take him out. Assassins couldn't take him out. So they upped the Hitler stuff. And on one side of her big mouth, Kamala Harris talks about dictatorship, democracy. He ordered an armed attack on the all lies. On the other side, can't we all get along? Can't we? The future. I mean, if she were in speech class in 4th grade, she'd flunk. But of course, the media love it because the media hate you. Let's be honest. They hate you. Scarborough hates you. Jake Tapper hates you. That whole corporatist media platform crap, it exists to continue this ruling class power over you. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
You know, America, people talk about these lawsuits that are brought and lawsuits that are won, and in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, critical county, and very familiar with Doylestown and all the rest of it. That case was brought and won by a gentleman by the name of Wally Zimmerlong, who was also involved in trying to defend our democracy, our republic, 4 years ago. So I want to give a hat tip to Wally Zimmerlong, who won the case. I also want to give a hat tip to American First Legal, who's filed a complaint against the head of this organization of lawyers. What's it called? Project 65 or something like that. That intimidates and threatens lawyers who dare to represent Donald Trump or dare to litigate on behalf of his campaign. They file ethics complaints. They make threats. In effect, they blackmail, in my humble opinion. So, American First Legal has stood up, and they said, you know what, pal? This reprobate who runs the organization, what you've done is unethical, so we're filing an ethics complaint against you. So I want to salute them. That's right, the gloves are off, America. The gloves are off, and all we need to do is win this thing. If we can win this election, we can start working on the government, bring our government back, securing the border, show the police that we respect and love them. Same with other first responders. Show our military that we respect and love them, give them a salary increase, increase their ability to... They're sending a war to win these wars. There's so much good that can be done out of this election. I just want you to reach deeply into your heart and soul and figure out, what else can I do? Many of you still haven't voted. That would help. But what else can you do? This is very, very important. I don't care what the polls are. We don't know what's happening. It hasn't moved the needle in 3 months. So why do you keep talking about it? I've never seen in a republic elected officials call the people garbage. I've never seen in a republic the elected officials call the people neo-Nazis. I've never seen in a republic you call out a man who's running against you as Hitler. Now, you see, Joe Scarborough's too low IQ, like the rest of the media. They say, well, he used the word fascist. Excuse me. We're talking about Adolf Hitler in the Third Reich. We're talking about the extermination of 6 million Jews and another 5 or 6 million other people. This isn't some generic fascist, quote unquote. If I were to count the number of times they use the word Hitler to describe Trump, it's got to be in the thousands. This is a man who was just survived 2 assassination attempts. Now, I have in front of me, and it's not the only one, there's others too, an article. How a splintered left is preparing for a possible Trump victory. And how are they preparing for a Trump victory, according to the Wall Street Journal news piece? Destroying Donald Trump. They want to have marches. You know, they want to have protests. By now, America is well versed in the predictions of the political right's potential response should Donald Trump lose on November 5. Look how they bring up the political right. Trump could win, so panic then. No, he wrote. One of these organizers. A Trump presidency would be awful, but not the end of history. Democrats have been here before in 2016, they say. This time would differ. Many veterans of the movement agree. Trump's no longer an unknown entity. Moreover, the possibility of his victory, unimaginable to many 8 years ago, is as good as a coin toss. So they've created resistance groups. So this is phase one of taking our country back. We must win the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Then these groups are literally trying to destroy the presidency, destroy our electoral process. We need to find out who's funding them. Most of them are nonprofit groups. And we need to confront them. They don't get free rein to try and destroy our country. Across America, more than a dozen progressives, a.k.a. Marxist jihadis, in various positions of influence told the Wall Street Journal they are dreading the prospect of Trump's return to power, dismayed that half the country might see a completely different reality than they see. Some are bracing for unrest. On a recent evening, more than 200 people joined a Zoom meeting titled Mass Training for Women's Safety Teams, hosted by a Women's March veteran who noted it's timing amid escalating political violence. These are the violent people. Do you remember Trump's inauguration? Do you remember how violent that was? Right out of the box? And it goes on and on. Rachel O'Leary Carmona, executive director of the Women's March, acknowledged the organization had suffered typical early growing pains, including internal conflicts, but said the marches remain the biggest on-ramp to the movement on the left. To Jeremy Vernon, a professor of the New School in New York City who has written extensively about political violence and extremist groups such as the Weather Underground, the paucity of concrete options to confront Trump reflects a long-standing weakness of the American left. We must confront him. And if we have to confront him with violence, so be it. We must organize. We must organize against the neo-Nazis. Well, excuse me, you sound like a neo-Nazi. There's more. GW Law School. Some professor over there planning massive litigation assaults on the Trump presidency. Jamie Raskin the Red. His big daddy was a Stalinist. Formed the IPS, a well-known communist front group, my humble opinion. Still there, by the way, in Washington. And this is Raskin. He's already said, we're going to use the Jack Smith filing to impeach Donald Trump. They don't want unity, America. They don't want unity at all. They don't want you to have freedom and free will. They don't want you to have the automobile that you want, and on and on and on and on. Yes. They want to change your life. That's what they want to do. And only you can stop them at the ballot box. Here's Philippe Reigns. Philippe. Parents must have hated him. By the way, I know parents who have a Philippe, but not this kind of Philippe. And they're dear friends. And Philippe is a great guy. No, I'm talking about Philippe Reigns, former advisor to Hillary's presidential campaign on MSLSD yesterday. He's on Fox from time to time for some reason. Listen to this nut job. Trying to panic people. Cut 10, go.
This guy is saying what he wants to do. You know, I've been sued once in my life, and it was by Donald Trump. And, you know, there are people, I mean, you're a journalist. You and I might be sharing a cell in 6 months from now.
Okay, dumbass, let me explain something to you. You being of a Democrat background, the most aggressively anti-press president in recent years who used the FBI, who used the criminal division of the Justice Department against the media was Barack Obama. I wrote about it in On Freedom of the Press. He was criticized by the Associated Press. He was criticized by the New York Times. He was the most aggressive anti-press president in modern times. And he unleashed the Department of Justice against them. Now, of course, the media went, wait a minute, it's us. We're supposed to be friends. He didn't care. Didn't matter. Philippe. Then there's Obama in Philadelphia yesterday. I guess he doesn't have a job anymore, but why should he? Now, remember, Obama was the first to target certain Muslim majority populations in different countries when it came to immigration. He blazed the trail. He was the first. Listen to him. Listen how they're trying to stoke violence and hate in this country because they want power, and that's the only way they can get it. Cut 11, go.
If you're a Christian and you care deeply about the abortion issue, I understand that, but does that mean you'll support somebody who seems to violate pretty much every precept of the Ten Commandments? If you are a service member and you're somewhat conservative and you're used to voting Republican, I can understand it, but somebody who genuinely does not believe in
this is a man who's in love with himself, who loves to hear his own voice, thinks he walks on water, parachutes into these cities and these towns and gives these stupid-ass speeches. But he went on to say, if you're a Muslim and you're upset about what's happening in the Middle East, why would you put your faith in somebody who passed a Muslim ban and repeatedly suggested that somehow you weren't part of the American community? It's not what he did. There was no Muslim ban. There were certain countries where terrorism was taking place and civil wars were taking place. We couldn't vet the people coming in. Trump said, okay, you can't come in right now until we figure this out. The administration, Trump, was sued. The courts upheld it. It wasn't a Muslim ban. So why does Obama say it's a Muslim ban? Because Obama wants to create strife, perhaps even violence. Doesn't matter. He wants to win an election, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters to Obama, and yet he was the first to do it, and they should do it, whether it's Muslim or anybody else. But there he is in Philadelphia, pandering. Pandering. By the way, we have a guy like that running, a Republican supposedly, out here in Virginia. Apparently had a meeting with Muslim group, and there was a person in there who wasn't Muslim, had to be Jewish. In any event, so the guy wants to assure these Muslims who are their Muslim leaders that he believes that AIPAC is way too powerful and shouldn't have the kind of control over American foreign policy that it does. This is a blatantly anti-Semitic statement. I don't even like AIPAC. You want to know why? They're wimps. That's right, AIPAC, you're wimps. Anti-Defamation League, headed by an Obama flunky. Oh, yeah, I criticize across the board when I believe it's necessary. This guy's supposed to be a conservative. I think his name's Clancy. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. He won't be on this program. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have our friend Carrie Lake. They're always counting Carrie Lake out. You know, she fights like hell. She's a warrior. She wants to save her state from the policies of Biden-Harris, which is destroying the state. It's overrun with illegal aliens and criminals. And she's running against a guy who is a radical Marxist, in my view, and open borders guy, and everything we believe in, he doesn't believe in, and yet he's running with $1 zillion in order to lie about him and lie about Kari Lake. So basically, he's running as Kari Lake, and Kari Lake he's portraying as him. That's the way they do these things. And Kari, you don't need to get into this. He's a complete sleazeball from everything I've read. But besides that, he's a great guy. Kari Lake, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're on the final approach here, and we've got huge numbers of people showing up and voting early. They're heeding the warning that we don't want them stuck in, mired in some long line with any problems at the polling places on Election Day. So we're getting people out to vote. You're right. My opponent, he's taken a page from all the Democrats' playbook. They lie about their past. They lie about who they are. They don't mention their radical voting. And then they try to act like they're some moderate or, now we're even seeing some of these guys act like they're buddy-buddy with President Trump. Yeah. My opponent voted to impeach President Trump twice. And just as we're hearing Joe Biden call us all garbage, my opponent actually, we have him on tape. He said it during an interview. He said that people who support President Trump are the worst people in the world. And he says we're done supporting President Trump. I think just the opposite. I think some of the greatest people in the world have woken up to the fact that President Trump's policies are the way to get us out of this mess, and they appreciate and love President Trump for the fight he has. And I'm just honored to be in this fight, even though the media has been attacking me every way. The public polling is finally admitting that I'm in the lead after lying for the last several months to try to, keep people from getting involved in our movement, keep donors away. Now they're finally, on the eve of the election, they're finally saying, oh, she's ahead in the polls, which we've known the whole time, Mark. We know that Arizona wants a secure border, our police departments to be fully funded and fully staffed. My opponent co-sponsored the legislation, the George Floyd legislation, that would have defunded the police nationwide, and he wanted to get rid of the filibuster to jam that through during the summer of 2020 when all these radicals were torching our cities. This guy is as radical as they come, and I think the people of Arizona have woken up to it.
This guy really is way, way out there. He is hardcore bomb thrower. He's vile personally, from what I can see. on top of everything else. He will say anything and do anything, which means, of course, your media will get behind him and promote him. But it really is time that Arizona get back to having a Republican senator. You know, the history of John Kyle, and especially my hero, Barry Goldwater. And you're not going to get it with one of these radical kooks. This guy, he's so radical, he should be like the lieutenant governor of Minnesota under this guy Walz. That's his mindset. That's his position on things. So tell us how it's going. You feel like you're doing okay, but I want to make sure the vote gets out and gets out as fast as possible. So what do you want to tell the people of Arizona?
Well, it's really critical, Mark, and you have so many listeners in Arizona, and you've been, informing people for so long, and we appreciate it. If you are listening right now in Arizona, or you have a friend or relative or anybody you know, call them and tell them, we want you to get out and vote. We can vote early until Friday, so get out and vote. If you have a mail-in ballot, don't put it in the mailbox. Now it's the USPS says it's too late to assure it will get there on time. So bring it down to a drop box or to a voting place and get it handed in, or you can just go to an early voting center and vote. You don't have to use the mail-in ballot. I know it sounds complicated. It shouldn't be. We should be closer to something like you just show up on Election Day and vote like we used to in the good old days. But we just need people to get out and vote. They cannot. If we show up, make it too big to rig, then we're going to have a huge amount of success. And right now we're seeing that. I think we're 127,000 votes above the Democrats right now. That's looking really good. We want to make it even bigger than that. So be prepared on Election Day, if you do vote Election Day, to be dealing with long lines.
And if that's what you wait for and you get in that line, stay in that damn line. It's not the Baton Death March, for God's sake. Stay in line. You got to do what you got to do. You can't help the fact that the Arizona voting system is really all screwed up. You can't fix it while you're voting. I heard them say, everybody needs to be patient in Maricopa County. I'm not patient. But that said, you got to get your vote in there. Get it in early. Like Carrie just said, You get it in early, you'll be set. Yep.
The two areas where they're going to have the longest lines, surprise, surprise, are in two areas with a big senior citizen population. And that's just hard on senior citizens. I know. My dad used to have some troubles, and if I had to ask him to stand in line for 3 hours, he just wouldn't have been able to do it. So that concerns me greatly. I'm asking people who are in those areas who don't have issues with standing, if they could drive a little further to a liberal part of town. I mean, there's going to be no problems in the liberal parts of town. So be prepared. If there's long lines, there's other voting centers, go to those. But let's make sure once the day starts to come to a close, if you're still standing in line, don't you dare get out of that line. Stand in that line and vote like your life depends on it. And you're right about my opponent, Mark. His personal life's a mess. And I don't normally like to bring people's personal life in, but his says a lot about who he is. He walked out and served his wife divorce papers a few days before Christmas, handed her divorce papers. In the divorce papers, he said she's going to...
Wait a minute, wasn't she pregnant?
Pregnant, 9 months pregnant. He said she's going to give birth any day and served her with divorce papers. Mm-hmm. This is a real schmuck.
Yeah, he sure is. Ladies and gentlemen, she's a great lady. She really is. Carrie Lake, they've tried to demonize her. It's the same people that demonize us as garbage. Please vote for her, Arizona. Vote right now. It's KariLake.com, Kari Lake.com. Go get him, kid. We're behind you.
Thank you, Mark.
We'll be right back.
He's driving the media mad. Mark Levin, call in with your outrage. 877-381-3811.
This week, Kamala has been comparing her political opponents to the most evil mass murderers in history. And now, speaking on a call for her campaign last night, Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. And they mean it, even though without question my supporters are far higher quality than Crooked Joe or Lying Kamala. My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans. You just can't.
Amen. We hear an amen.
And you can't be president if you hate the American people. And there's a lot of hatred there.
So true. Right on.
Kamala Harris is not fit to be president of the United States.
No way.
She doesn't have the intellect, the stamina, or that special quality that real leaders must have to lead. We know what that is. It's a special quality.
Yeah.
Joe Biden's comments were the direct result of Kamala's and Tim Walz, you know? You know who that is? His decision to portray everyone who isn't voting for them as evil or subhuman. You're not subhuman. I'm looking at you. You are not subhuman. And we know it's what they believe because look how they've treated you. They've treated you like garbage, frankly. They've treated you like garbage. You know what? The truth is they've treated our whole country like garbage, whether they meant to or not, because they're grossly incompetent people, and they've destroyed our country. Our country is suffering right now like it's never suffered with inflation.
Mm-hmm. Now, CNN thinks this is all funny. Why? The Constipated News Network, because they're all constipated. They're all punks. This Cassie Hunt, real sleazeball. The whole bunch of them, just punks. And so they're sitting around a table. We used to call that circle, I better not say that, Mr. Producer. You get my drift? And so there she is. Well, let's listen in, shall we? Because nobody else is watching it. Cut 9, go. Hat tip, right scoop.
So perhaps that's why, just 1 week out from Election Day and with polls continuing to show a deadlocked race, the former president felt the need to say this.
They use that word freely, both words. They use it, he's Hitler. And then they say, he's a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. I'm the opposite of a Nazi. I don't know.
Joining us now to discuss, Alex Thompson, CNN political analyst, national political.
Wait. So we're going to have a whole round table to discuss whether he's a Nazi. See what I mean? None of these people had family who were shoved into ovens and burned alive. None of these people had family who were sent to the gas chambers. None of these people have family that are in mass graves in and around these death camps. None of them. They're all punks. Cassie Hunt, punk. Joining us, Alex Thompson, CNN political analyst, punk. Punk, reporter for Axios. Philippe Reigns, he's back, former advisor to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Good job, Philippe. Sleazeball. Mike Dubke, former Trump White House communication advisor. Oh, this ought to be good. Go ahead.
Advisor to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, and Mike Dubke, former Trump White House communications advisor. Welcome to all of you. 1 week.
I don't like the sound of this young lady's voice. You can always tell she's a stuck-up, fraudulent elitist who's accomplished absolutely nothing in her life. These people on CNN, that's not a beginning of a career. That's an end of a career. Go ahead.
Would like to take the Nazi issue.
Hey, who wants to take the Nazi? And then she's laughing. Hey, who wants to take the Nazi issue? Ha, 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 ha. This is CNN. The Nazi issue. It's so funny. So funny, you jerk. Cassie Hunt. The Nazi issue. What a disgrace. Your ass should be fired immediately so Al Jazeera can hire you. You can work with Mehdi Hassan, another favorite at the Constipated News Network. That CN is a rat's nest of Jew haters and American haters. And yet there they are. Jake Tapper does nothing. Dana Bash does nothing. And you too, Wolf. You sit on your ass. While Casey Hunt is laughing about Hitler and the Nazi. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know what the opposite of a Nazi is, but, you know, with the...
This is this guy, Philippe Reigns. I don't know what the opposite of a Nazi is. You don't? You don't, you quizzling little bastard? They think this is all funny, America. You're garbage. You're neo-Nazis. Something wrong with you. Something wrong with you. They trash you every damn day. These nobodies, these punks. You ought to meet them. They're like stupid, really stupid. They've accomplished nothing in their lives. Who the hell is Casey Hunt? What did she ever do? Nothing. She's worked her way up the ladder to CNN. Well, that's no ladder. It's a ladder to hell. But they're laughing. They're Holocaust victims listening to this program, listening to Casey Hunt and her roundtable laugh over the Nazi issue. We have no Nazi issue, but they create one. You, all of you out there, many of you police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, many of you in federal law enforcement, many of you who have fought for your country, who are veterans, you're now neo-Nazis. You're garbage, according to these people. Now, if this doesn't cause you to vote and get other people to vote, there's nothing we can do, because this is why they think they should be able to tell you how to live, what to do, to undermine and usurp your constitutional liberties. They're revealing themselves completely. Their naked tyranny is right there. Go ahead.
Plan these kind of events. You guys have covered these kind of events. You are asking for it. If you put it someplace in a venue like that, it is not like they suddenly stumble into ancient burial ground. You pick the venue, knowing the history.
Wait. Madison Square Garden, where the Democrats have held I don't know how many party conventions? Where the Knicks play? Where the Rangers play? Where there's all kinds of... Where Frank Sinatra came out of retirement and said, I don't understand. You picked the venue. Madison Square Garden now you shouldn't pick because in 1939 a bunch of Democrats who were neo-Nazis were there? What is that? What does that mean? Well, let's shut down the New York Times because the New York Times gave aid and comfort to Hitler and the Nazis. Let's shut that down. How about Franklin Roosevelt? Should we take down his library? I mean, let's go on. That's okay. It's fine by me. How about CNN? And all the Islamist neo-Nazis and their propaganda that is spewed by their anchors. Anybody have a problem with that? You dumb bastard. Go ahead. Oy, oy, oy. Crazy, isn't it? It's your media. Kamala Harris. Let's see, January 6th wasn't that far away, was it, America? Here she is, speaking in Washington, D.C., all dressed up with the American flag all around her. She wants you to know she's a uniter. We got to turn the page. She's new leadership for future generations. She's a platitudinous buffoon. Say this, say this. Say you want to unite us. Come on. You can, yes. Say it. Cut 12, go.
We know who Donald Trump is. He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol to...
Okay, lady. He never sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol. Why do you keep lying? An armed mob to the United States Capitol? There was not an armed mob. Even the people who were violent were not an armed mob. He offered to send a National Guard. Now, of course, the Democrats lie about it because it kind of destroys their whole narrative. 10,000 National Guardsmen. Well, the Inspector General, Department of Defense, said there is corroborating independent information. Kash Patel, who was there, the Chief of Staff to the Secretary of Defense, he said he absolutely did say it. The Acting Secretary of Defense, who was there, I've had him on this program, said he absolutely did say it. But Nancy Pelosi, nobody ever got a hold of me. And yet Nancy Pelosi says it on a damn video, on a documentary that her daughter's shooting. And here we have Kamala Harris saying that Donald Trump sent an armed mob to the Capitol. She's the worst. I mean, there have been bad Democrats. There really have. She is the worst. Marxist, jihadist, a psychopath, a serial liar. What kind of person? What kind of person? Seriously. Is that what you want in the office of the presidency, for God's sakes? She wants to unite us when she's running a campaign based on the Hitler campaign strategy? She doesn't want to unite us. Are you kidding me? She wants to control us. Meanwhile, all you folks out there who can't make ends meet, you're running up your credit cards. You hate to go to the grocery store because you can't afford the food for yourself and your family. That you're suffering, you don't know week to week what the hell's going to happen with your utility bills. You keep putting things off. You keep getting late notices. Tell me, what exactly is Kamala Harris going to do for you? Were you going through that 4 years ago? I doubt it. 5 years ago? 6 years ago? I doubt it. Well, what is she going to do to fix it? Absolutely nothing. We're going to do price gouging. As I said, absolutely nothing. It doesn't create more energy. It doesn't increase the ability of the process for developing food, getting it to you at a better price. No, she has no idea. She's an ignoramus. She doesn't know anything about the private sector, or production, or development, or anything else. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Vote, 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 vote. All we have to do is outvote them and we win. For God's sakes. Please. Let's go to Nancy, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, the Mark Levin app. That is where I am from. A township called Cheltenham and a little community called Elkins Park. Cheltenham, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. When I lived there as a kid, it was heavy Republican. Now it's heavy Democrat, 2/3 Democrat. That's where I got elected to my local school board at 19 when I was in law school, right there, Montgomery County, Cheltenham Township. Nancy, how are you?
Good evening, Mark. I'm okay. We're very.
Where are you in Montgomery County?
Actually, in the Fort Washington area.
Yeah, nice area.
It's okay. Very much liberal Democrats.
Oh my God, that flipped too. Okay, there you go.
Oh yes. But we're eager to hear what Philly radio station will be airing your show, because many folks, unlike me, only listen on the radio.
Yeah, and I will let you know tomorrow, Friday, when I'm allowed to.
Great. And you know, Mark, Kamala Harris, she came to Washington Crossing, which is named for George Washington, who famously said, "I cannot tell a lie."
Ah, you're right.
Kamala Harris can only tell a lie.
Mm-hmm. You're right. She's in the wrong place. But she tells a lie everywhere, wherever she is. She's just so awful. And, wasn't that long ago she was embracing the 1619 Project, which completely blows out George Washington. Then she goes to Washington's Crossing, where we know, which is where Washington and the troops, as such as they were, they're in horrific shape, playing the Battle of Trenton. And I've been there many, many times in my life. My parents used to take us there, and they used to take the campers there and so forth. My family, it's a beautiful area. And she goes there, having trashed George Washington, everything he had done, and then claims to be standing on Washington's shoulders with a bunch of ruling class reprobate Republicans there. They don't care. They really do soil these sites, these historic sites, with their BS and their propaganda. All right, Nancy, thank you for your call. What high school did you go to? Are you from Montgomery County?
Mark, I grew up in Philly. I went to Girls High, Temple University for college, and Temple Law School.
Me too. I went to Temple and Temple Law School.
Mark, that's why you're so smart.
Ah, all right. Well, thank you. You're a Philadelphia lawyer. That's not so bad. Nancy, God bless you, my friend. Yeah, no, I got accepted to other schools, some Ivy League schools. We couldn't afford it, and I really didn't want to go to them anyway. And Temple University Law School, it's a gritty law school. You learn a hell of a lot. I feel I learned a hell of a lot more at Temple University Law School than I could have ever learned at Harvard, Mr. Producer. Because you really do get your knuckles scraped. And you duke it out in these classrooms and so forth. They're very radical. And there I was. It was... one of the years I was there, I believe it was 1980, I was wearing a Reagan button. There I am in North Philly. Today I'd probably get killed, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm serious. Let's take another call, shall we? I think we What's that? Oh, you're right. I'm out of time, but there's always tomorrow, America. We salute our heroes. Remember, vote. Use your iPhone. Tell other people to vote. I'm counting on you. Count on yourself. The country's counting on you.